All right, this is for Heart Shape Booty Day 13. I have 2 new exercises for you along with a great mobility drill that we're going to start with. Now, this mobility drill is taken from Jeff Cavalier over at athleanx.com. I'm going to modify it slightly, but he is one of my favorite online trainer personalities, and he's awesome. This drill that he came up with doesn't have the best name. He's not so good about naming his own drills, which is, you know, if I had to go back and start naming all of my gym lab creations, it would take a while. But I think he just refers to it as the ultimate hip mobility and flexibility drill, because it does work on not only our hip mobility, but it will get into our hip flexor, our psoas stretch. So it does double duty, and the reason why I'm calling him modified is because he does use a Smith machine in which he could raise that bar up and down for the right height to be about your waist length, so that we could hurdle under this imaginary dowel, hurdle under it, and come across on the other side. Now, if you don't want to just imagine it as we're going to do in our drill, you could take a dowel, a broomstick, whatever you have, and place it in between 2 chairs. So you set that up for you about waist height. Obviously, the lower you go, the harder you're going to, or the lower you're going to have to bend, the harder it's going to be for your legs. Okay, so here's how the drill is going to go. You're going to stand square along the side of this imaginary dowel. So toes pointing straight ahead, hip is square, shoulder is square, head is straight forward. And we're going to take that step to open up under the dowel, okay? Once we do, we now have to bend by hinging back and squatting low, keeping everything square. And to clear this dowel, we're going to have to slide laterally to the side. So don't duck or shift, okay? So keep everything square, opening up here, and then we're going to pivot both feet in order to have that lunge position so that we can end up stretching out this hip flexor. But there's more. You're going to raise the arm overhead and bend to the opposite side of that extended leg to get into the psoas, all right? So in this position, you might find that you're trying to shift to the extended leg side. You're going to fight that and stretch in the opposite direction. Now, we're going to just pivot back to center, keep the knees out and open, slide under, hurdle under to the other side, do the same thing, pivot, get that hip flexor stretch, raise your arm, bend to the opposite side, and then just repeat. So this is a good burnout for the legs. Woo, now I'm gonna get a little bit worried about showing you the rest of the exercises because I'm kind of sore and shaky from whatever I've been doing the last couple days. All right, so the next one, the first exercise is called the lateral step up. Now it looks so innocent, and it looks so mild, but I'm going to suggest that you start with a very, very low elevation, okay? First, let me show you what it looks like. We're going to have 1 foot elevated to one side and step up and step down, okay? Looks innocent, looks mild, right? All right, here's the setup. So with your foot, you want to have, with your feet, you want to have this open distance here. So you don't want to be too close, okay? You want to have this open distance. Now this is a hip stability movement. So we're going to work on keeping the hip stable and square as we shift to the left side and start loading this leg before we lift off, okay? So the foot placement is very important on this one. We want to think about having basically the full bottom of your feet take the brunt force, okay? They call it your tripod foot placement. I think that's a weird name. Instead, just think about keeping full contact with the whole ball of your foot. So instead of the cue of driving through the heel, we want to drive through the whole foot. That means including your toes. If you find that your toes curl up or they start curling in, just think about keeping the weight spread across the bottom of your foot along the balls of the feet, okay? Now, you want to have your knee tracking on the third and fourth toes. So instead of tracking to the big toe and the middle toe, you want to track slightly outward into the third and fourth toe, and you do not want this leg to cave in. Now, from here, once you have that foot placement set, okay, that's set, now we're going to shift while we remain square, a little bit like that mobility drill we just did, and just slide to the left in order to load this hip up before we then press up through the elevated foot to stand, okay? So what we don't want, and then from the top here, after you squeeze, to come down is just important because we're going to just simply reverse that move. So we're going to shift back to the opposite side while keeping this knee out, engaging through the glutes to come back to position. So what we're not doing is starting close and just shooting straight up. What we're not also doing is just plopping down or plopping down. We're also not lifting off from this bottom foot. The bottom foot basically does nothing, okay? Just think about it that way. It just comes along with you as you step up, squeeze to the top. Now, how we elevate this to the next position or the next level, instead of just starting to raise the height, what we want to do is actually use a band, okay? Now, the most ideal position is to set up the band to something sturdy that's in line to the side of you, to the opposite side of your working leg. The way I have to show you, because of the way my band is placed, I'm going to be showing that it's coming off from the front, but ideally you have it coming straight from the side, okay? What you want to do is hook your leg inside this band so that it lays on the outside of your working leg, okay? The outside knee of your working leg. So immediately you're going to have this effect of having that band pull this knee inward. So the reason why this gets harder now is that now you have to fight and fire even more to get that knee to remain tracking over that toe, over the third and fourth toe. And then you'll do everything else the same. It will just be a little bit harder, okay? And then reverse it down. And then after that, to go up to a step up level, you can go ahead and start adding a higher elevation, okay? But this is a great sort of correction for any sort of imbalances. So I invite you to take time with it versus just trying to add as much load or height as possible, okay? So go ahead and finish out one side before you do the other. Now, the next exercise is the one-legged box squat, which is a variation of the box squat that we already did, and most of the cues are going to be the same. So remember, in the box squat, we just mean that it's, we could use a chair or any sort of elevation like a chair. The lower you go, the harder it is, because now you have to come up out of the hole. So with the box squat, remember, we started in the seated position so that we know where our seat is as we come back down to the seat, and that we have our foot placed so nice and comfortable close to the chair, and that we set this because we're not moving the foot position and we're not moving, we want to just come back to the same seat position. So from here, what we did was engage everything, drive through the heel to stand straight up. In this case, squeeze at the top, hip hinge, back down, and then tap it down instead of plopping down. So now with the one-legged box squat, we're simply going to take one foot off the floor, just like this. Just take the weight off of the floor And we're going to now focus on the one leg that's going to drive now harder through the heel. It's going to take a little bit more balance, okay? And squeeze at the top, okay? And calm down. See, I'm very shaky. If you need to, hold on to something, have someone hold your hand, place your arm out to the side for balance. Go ahead and try that. That's fine. And then for the second level, the moderate level, we want to just have the legs extended a little bit. Starter level, you're welcome to try this as well. Might help you, give you a counterbalance. So the moderate level, just keep it extended. You don't have to raise it up. And do the same thing, okay? Come up, see I messed up there. Come up and then hinge back down. I'll show you on the other leg, okay? So press in through that heel, squeeze at the top, hinge back down, tap it down. Now, in order to make it harder, we're going to start turning this into more of an assisted pistol. So you do want your legs extended and raised, and you'll end up working this leg a lot harder. And come up, extend. See how there's a little bit of a push forward here, squeezing through the glutes, but it's your glute contraction that pushes the hip forward, remember? It's not you just thinking about driving that hip forward, okay? And then just keep this leg up the whole time and hip hinge back down, okay? So that is a lower progression for the pistols, which actually is a great standalone exercise all on its own. So those are your 3 tiers. All right, give these a go. Always remember, if you would like to go ahead and add a third exercise to these sessions, I would always suggest making sure you include on a regular basis a exercise that is focused as a glute bridge or a hip thrust exercise, so that you work on your hip extension and you'll get the most activation of your glutes on those exercises, and or a glute med focus exercise, so anything where we have some sort of a leg abduction to add to that mix. Okay, give it a go. Happy Valentine's Day to you, by the way.